Hello ladies and gentlemen, it's Mike here at Game From Scratch, and today we are talking about Spriter, specifically Spriter Alchemist, which I will explain in just a few moments. And this could get a little bit confusing because we're talking about an add-on product for a product that doesn't exist yet. So yeah, this does get a little confusing. And if you've been a regular to this channel, you know I've covered a number of programs along this line. There's Spine, which I think is the first one I covered. There's Dragon Bones, there's Creature, and of course there is Spriter. Spriter is made by a company called Brash Monkey, and the entire idea behind this guy is it is for 2D animation. What you can do is basically cut your character sprite up into little pieces, or like an arm, a forearm, a leg, a torso, and so on. And then you can use traditional animation mechanisms. So you can have bones and IK-based patterns to control the animation. Now, on top of the original Spriter and Spriter Pro, which are available now, you can also get Spriter 2, which is adding additional animation features on top of that. Things like manual freeform deformations and advanced, fine-tuned controls over the animation. And that has been a long time coming. So if you want to check out Spriter, it is available. There's a free downloadable version, or it's $60. And this Spriter will get you the next version, which has been coming soon for a very long time. So that is the one reason why I have never actually covered Spriter on this channel. So I've had Spriter, and I've owned Spriter for I think 4 or 5 or 6 years now, maybe even longer. But Spriter 2 has always been just over the horizon, so I never bothered to do a video because this one is just over the horizon. Well, a bit of a spoiler alert. Spriter 2 hasn't actually shipped yet. So Spriter 2 is being pre-ordered. Now, the cool thing is, if you buy it at the current price of the Spriter Pro, you get Spriter 2 when it is actually released, and you get access to Spriter Pro for now. So it's the same as if you kind of went back to Spriter and bought the Pro version. That's how they've kind of approached the pre-order of Spriter 2. And this is, again, I still don't know when the hell this thing is going to ship. If you go down here to some of the details, you can see here, Spriter 2 is being built from the ground up to offer a new level of flexibility and ease for 2D game animation, built around advanced image deformations, bone and curve manipulations, and lots of other completely new features to help game creators make the most immersive visuals as easily as possible. And the key part here is down here in bold. Spriter 2 is in early development. Sometime in 2018, it will be released for private testing by the members of the Spriter community who have purchased this pre-order before August 3rd of 2018, or who purchased Spriter Pro before August 3rd. Now, to point out the really relevant fact, the first beta was going to be in 2018, and for those that are not paying attention, it is now 2020. So that always just over the horizon thing. You know what? They kind of gotta release a product soon, even if they're going to improve it in post. Release something now, and that's where this next announcement comes in, is they've actually launched a Kickstarter for Spriter 2 Alchemist, and this is building on Spriter 2, which, yes, technically hasn't been released yet, and this is going to extend it. You can almost think of this as Spriter 2 plus. And this is going to add procedural 2D animation and content creation on top of Spriter 2. So really, let's think about it this way. Spriter was all about doing bone-based 2D animation using traditional sprite workflow. Spriter 2 adds a layer of fine-tuned controls over top of that. You can do things like free-form deformation. So if you had like a cape blowing in the wind, you didn't have to use bones to manipulate that. You could actually use a lattice work and kind of manipulate it frame over frame as an example. And then Spriter 2 Alchemist is going to be built over top of Spriter 2, and this is going to add procedural 2D animation and content creation suites there. So basically the key thing here between Spriter 2 and Alchemist, as far as I can figure it out, is kind of how much work you're going to have to ultimately do. So in this case, the procedural workflow takes care of things for you. So I guess you could have something like wind and have it flap in the wind for you without having to you manually set the control points, etc. So here you can see the tiers that they've got if you don't own Spriter 2 or Spriter Pro. It's going to be $75 for Spriter 2 and Alchemist. I think that's the key part here. And you get all of their art packs for $100 and so on. So you got various different tiers. But basically, if you want to buy into Spriter 2 at this point, you can pay $40 instead of the price of, what was it again? 60. So that's a little awkward. But then we've got, so if you've got, that's if you don't own Pro, so you can get Alchemist and Spriter 2 for $75. So you're looking at basically buying up to this tier for, what is that, $16 more than the retail for Spriter Pro today. And if you already own Spriter Pro, you can get Alchemist for $35 just as another purchase. So then you're kind of wondering exactly what it's all about. Well, the key thing here is, again, procedural workflows. So they've got a couple of video demonstrations. I don't think there's audio. If they, ooh, all right. So here you see we've got shapes. So this is a procedural sprite creation tool they're building in, and then you can see some of the lattice work in effect. So okay, I had to turn that off because it's making weird noises. Then we've got over here. Again, I think this is for design at this point in time. So it's a set of tools that take a procedural workflow both in terms of your sprite creation and your sprite animation. Once you've set up animations and controls, you'll be able to pose your character more like an action figure or an armature than a traditionally 2D rigged character. So it is taking a lot of the drudgery out of the animation process. And this is, again, building on top of Spriter 2. So the big thing between 2, again, and Alchemist is Alchemist kind of brings things to a higher level and then has this procedural creation tool built on top. So Alchemist, there was a big emphasis on making sure that artists felt completely free to animate in whatever way they wanted. You'll be able to effortlessly switch from drawing and frame-by-frame animation to deforming and tweening, to posing with bones, to posing using strokes, and basically never get stuck with rigid limitations to how you animate because of how you initially set up your characters. And the traditional workflow here is there is no content creation generally. What you would actually have done is you would come into Spriter with the work you'd already done in something like, Photoshop or Paint.net or Affinity Paint or whatever, and you'd have already created your assets, and basically you're just using something like Spriter for doing the animation. What this is going to do is give you, again, traditional animation tools on top, but you're also going to get some creation tools here as well. And one thing I do have to say, I do like this context wheel UI they keep demonstrating here. Showed it right off the hop. See right there, that the context wheel that came in? That's actually kind of cool. And then even here you're seeing some text going on. A real power of Alchemist will bring you is its suite of procedural tools which will allow you to have your character and objects animate and behave differently depending on the context. Alchemist, you will be able to set up your character to automatically blend between animations to reflect temporary states like mood, movement, speed, physical state, etc., or more permanent states like gender, age, physical condition, and personality. You'll be able to tell Alchemist to create procedurally generated characters or crowds by choosing values for your predefined attributes, which will in turn define your character's animations, choose appropriate accessory options, and select or crossfade between predefined textures and meshes. Alchemist will allow you to override and manually customize any of this for specific characters. You will even be able to leverage these features into a custom character customization system for your game. That's one of those things all these tools generally have are runtimes that allow you to actually take their exported versions and take advantage of their advanced functionality in your game engine of choice. In addition to the manual controls we discussed earlier, you could use relationship between objects and entities to automatically control aspects of your character, animations, and interactions, such as the distance between two objects or angle between bones, as shown in this example. Creating characters can automatically step over obstacles, as in this example. Using the speed of change in your head turn control to switch or blend between different head turn animations, a character reaching for a drawer, and automatically blending or switching animations when necessary for the specific height of the drawer. And with just 2 keyframes to move your character, automatically blend between the walk and run animations appropriately for the required speed of the movement. And yeah, that is kind of the idea. We've got stylized perspective grids in here, user input in Finally, Alchemist user input and interactivity features will be able to create UI and gameplay using input triggers and state like button presses and mouse clicks, create interactive experiences like motion comics, create complex and dynamic user interfaces, create gameplay components and even entire simple games, and use input checks within animation to make time-dependent inputs like special moves in fighting games easy to create and test. And then again, we get back into the tiered options. We already went through a little bit of this in the graphic above, so I'm just basically brushing over it right now. And then, of course, as I just mentioned a couple of seconds ago, Spriter has always had runtimes that you can use it for your game execution. From near day one of the first full release, there will be full runtimes for C# and Unity. Along the way, in addition to Unity and C#, primary APIs and plugins will focus on our C++, JavaScript, Unreal, and Construct 3. Behind that, they're going to work on other ones with no ETAs. They are focusing on the Windows version first until full release. After that, support the current version of macOS and Linux distributions, officially supported by Steam. After that, and then again, we've got more details on the animated art packs, and then we get into the stretch goals. So if they make more than their requested amount, they are going to add this additional functionality. And then this is a little fluid because Spriter and so on keep making money anyway. So as they keep making money, they'll keep adding features to keep selling software. So this is more like a roadmap, I guess you could see. But we got things like shader support. That was actually shown above. Text feature set, UI creation system, scene level management. So what we're seeing is a lot of the things that they were actually talking about or are discussing as features, they're kind of in the whole stretch goals kind of approach to this. As of right now, they've been launched only for a couple of days now. I don't remember when they started, but they're at, what would that be, about 4,500 US. It looks like their base goal is about, was that 5,500 US roughly? Oh, what if I click this? There we go. Yeah, 50,000 goal USD. So they're looking like they're about just shy of 10% of the way there with 27 days to go. I don't normally cover Kickstarters on this channel, but this one is specifically for a direct game development tool that I know that a lot of you have probably used or thought about at some point in the past. Again, I've been meaning to cover it on the channel forever and ever and ever, but they just never released Spriter 2. And if I had one piece of recommendation for these guys, I would highly and strongly suggest that your number one focus is get Spriter 2 out there as a product and then start focusing on add-ons. That's the only thing that kind of has me a little bit worried about this, because everything they're talking about here sounds really, really cool, but ship the product you're working on today, at least is my feedback. So really think about this. You are investing in something that is going to be in the future, but they've structured it in such a way that the cost structure, if you're looking at Spriter anyways, it doesn't really change that much. It's about $15 investment in the future if you want this Alchemist stuff later on. So it's at least very fair with the way they're going about the financing, but my strongest recommendation is finally just ship Spriter 2. Anyways, that's it. So that is Spriter 2 Alchemist, currently on Kickstarter. Let me know what you think of Spriter down below, what you know if you've been working with the Spriter 2 beta, what you think of it, or are you using one of the competitors like Dragon Bones or Spine or Creature or something like that, or this is built into the Godot engine to a lesser degree, as well as something called Cutout Animation Tool. Blender has the same thing. There's a Cutout Animation Tool for Blender as well. What are you working with? What do you like in that regard? I'd love to hear it in the comments down below, and I will talk to you all later. Goodbye.